Let's be real. Choosing the right college fit is way more than just about following the brand or picking a division. So today we're going to talk about 4 different ways that you can help evaluate and go through a checklist of things to look for when you are researching and trying to create your list of schools. The first thing that we're going to talk about is athletic fit. Now, this one obviously goes without saying. Sometimes when you're looking at finding the right athletic fit, sometimes that's going to get done for you. As I've said before in some of my other videos, college coaches have one question in mind when they are watching your film or watching you play live. And that one question is, can you help me win? That's it. There's questions I can ask after that, but that is the first and most important question that college coaches are asking when they watch your film or they evaluate you live. From the athlete side over here, we typically are sending out a lot of emails to a bunch of different schools because we're not really sure where we might fit athletically. And there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of, dare I say, misinformation when it comes to the various levels. There's a lot of thought and a lot of speculation, although it's wrong, that all of Division 1 is basically the same, and all of Division 2 is basically the same, and all of Division 3 is basically the same. That's not true. From Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, across each of those levels, and they are levels technically, across each of those levels, there is a spectrum of athletic ability, talent, determination. Specifically, there's actually a lot of overlap that I don't think people quite understand because we don't go watch as much college volleyball as maybe we should. And we certainly don't go watch it live as much as we should. Just as one example, there are a lot of Division II programs out there, specifically top 25 Division II programs across the country that are going to be better than the bottom half of Division I. Okay. Like I said, there's a big difference between the number 1 team in the country, Division I, and the number 345 team in the country. We don't go from 345 Division I to number 1 Division II program. That's not how it works. So while there are levels, and we can definitely call them levels, from the top of Division I to the bottom of Division I, from the top of Division II to the bottom of Division II, there's a spectrum of physicality when it comes to trying to find the best fit for you as an athlete. You do have to make sure that you are looking across that entire spectrum where you're going to be able to play, not just the division, but the overall talent level of volleyball being played. The other thing that you need to keep in mind when it comes to playing college athletics and playing college volleyball is that college is not club. And when you go play college volleyball, you're practicing way more than you play, especially if you don't play. Now, I mentioned the 2 matches a week because I think it's important to know and understand that when you play a club tournament, you might play 7 matches over the course of 2 days. And as a club coach, I could probably get everyone on my roster in a little bit here or there, play 1 set, maybe 2. I can get everyone some playing time. That doesn't happen at the college level. If you have 16 athletes on a roster, probably 8 or 9 of them are the ones that are playing majority of the time. And I've ran this statistic over the last couple of years. Look at roughly any college program across the country, and you're looking at 60% of that team is playing majority of the matches and sets. 40% of the athletes on that roster are playing in less than half of the sets throughout the entire season. That is something that you need to process and think about when it comes to finding your athletic fit. Okay, so now that we maybe have a better sense of where we might fit, let's talk about where you're actually going to be going to school. Let's talk about location. Location is typically one of the first things that we talk about with our athletes. We do try to talk about location along with level, because one of the things that's important to understand is not all volleyball is made the same. Do you want to go to school at the beach? Do you want to go to school where it snows? All that is important, but it ties into the level. There are some athletes that, for an example, want to stay close to home, and that's great. But that means that they might be playing Division II or maybe Division III volleyball where they are staying close to home. Some athletes might want to stay close to home, and the only options they have, there's only 5 or 6 schools that are in their area. Some are Division I, and maybe those are unattainable, and they don't want to go to Division III. So they're left with 2, maybe 3 options locally or regionally to go to school. Those are all things that you need to think about when we talk about location, because when we talk about specific states or specific areas of the country, we are limiting the amount of options that we have from the very beginning. So anytime that we add specifics of location, or I want to be in a downtown college campus, or I like college campuses that are in the middle of nowhere and are kind of small college towns, right? Anytime we put those stipulations on our list of schools, we are going to be taking a lot of schools off the list. And probably one of the biggest things to understand when it comes to location of colleges as you're going through and creating your list is that a lot of these schools and college programs are recruiting regionally. Not all of them, obviously. Some of them have the money and the budget to go out and recruit from across the entire country. And that's all well and good, but that's a small list of schools, and it's a small list of athletes that are playing at those schools. For a lot of other smaller mid-major Division I programs, Division II, Division III, a lot of these programs are recruiting regionally. And so they are going to go recruit the athletes that are closer to home. When it comes to location, something we have to think about is, what's my competition? Is my competition as an out-of-state athlete looking to play, let's say, in South Carolina? I'm an out-of-state athlete, and that school potentially is going to have to give me more scholarship, or it's going to cost me more money to go to that school versus the athlete that is there locally, and they can recruit locally, that they're probably going to get to watch more than they are me being an out-of-state athlete. That's what we have to think about, and that's what we have to think about our competition being. Just like when I talk to athletes about staying close to home, their competition is everyone else in Texas that wants to stay close to home, which is a lot of athletes. Okay. Athletic fit, location fit, those two things also tie into scholarship. The financial fit is definitely a conversation that you need to have and process and think about, because financial fit is going to be really important. We already talked about paying out of state tuition potentially versus paying in-state tuition. Now, we're not talking about necessarily getting a full ride. We're talking about getting a chunk of scholarship. And we were already in a position where very few athletes statistically were getting full rides. And now that's all, it's just like that idea has just exploded, really. There's definitely situations where you can get athletic scholarship and academic scholarship stacked on top of each other and put a nice package together. That's very possible for a lot of these schools to do, but it's not necessarily going to happen everywhere. And I try to tell all the families and athletes that I meet with, you need to figure out how you're going to pay for school, because you are probably, again, statistically, you are probably going to have to pay for school, and you need to know where your threshold is, ideally ahead of time. The worst situations that athletes and families put themselves in is they go on a visit to a school, and the school says, hey, we want you to be a part of our program. We're big fans. We really like you. And they go, we can give you 50% of a scholarship. And the family's, whoa, how come we're not getting a full ride, right? And we're already upset. We already feel like we're valued less because we're not getting a full ride. And also we're going, we can't afford this school for this cost. And so it is something that you need to process and think about. It's definitely a conversation that you should have with college coaches before you go on a visit. You should know when you step foot on campus what you're walking into as far as scholarship opportunities, not necessarily what you're going to get, right? You don't want to get on the phone and say, what are you going to give me, coach? But you do want to have some sort of conversation as far as what's going to be available. 2 last things when it comes to a financial fit. The first thing is the size of your scholarship does not always reflect the value that you can have on a program. I know a lot of times we see it that way. We've been playing club volleyball for a long time, high school volleyball for a long time. I feel like I've put in the time and energy and the effort, and probably someone told you along the way that you were going to get a full ride and you deserve a full ride and things like that. Again, statistically, that's not necessarily always the case. Along with that, and this is thing 2, the biggest offer that you get might not necessarily be the best fit. In several situations in the past that I've seen families and athletes take the bigger scholarship dollar amount, or maybe the biggest level scholarship, it was not a good fit for them in the end, and they ended up transferring somewhere else that was a better overall fit. So please do not see your value in the scholarship amount that you get. Once we've talked about location and athletic fit and done some number crunching, then at some point in the process, we want to talk about the culture fit. And we want to ask specific questions to the athletes and to the college coaches about what it's like to play at this school, at this program. Now, some of those conversations you're not going to be able to have until you get further in the process. You're not always going to know the ins and outs of a program or how you're going to interact with the college coach, sometimes until you meet them face to face. Sometimes coaches will set up a Zoom call with athletes, but not always. It is important for you as an athlete to ask a lot of questions of the current college players and a lot of questions to the current coaching staff. And it's also important that you ask as many questions as you can when you're on the phone with these college coaches, because the more you can find out about them individually, coaching style, the more you can find out about the team and what their motivation is and what they like to do and why they chose that school. Does this seem like a team that you want to be around? Does this seem like a coaching staff that you want to learn and grow from? Those are the types of conversations that you need to have. And if you're not having those conversations, I would encourage you to join one of our online programs and get our Ask Better recruiting questions download. It's a really fantastic tool. It's going to generate not only more interest for you, because you're going to have more interactive conversations with college coaches. And so they're going to be like, man, this is a great question. This athlete must be really interested. But it's also going to give you more info and insight into that program and that coach, because the conversations that you're going to have are going to be way more genuine, way more specific, and way more unique. Remember, finding the right college fit is not just about checking a box of Division I or checking a box of this conference or checking a box of I got a full scholarship. There's a lot more to navigating this recruiting process than just going brand check. There are a lot more options out there for you. If you are not an athlete that is going to play at the highest of the high college volleyball level, that's okay. There is a fit out there for you where you can be successful both in the classroom and on the court. And I would encourage you to spend as much time as possible looking into the almost 1,000 volleyball programs for Division I, II, and III that are across the country. I would encourage you to look at those as much as you can and get as much insight so that you can find the best fit for you. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you go and subscribe, check out some of our other videos, and I will see you next week.